Hey, my friends, welcome back to the podcast. Last week's episode was such a hit. We're going to keep talking about the gut because I do fully believe that this is one of the things that we easily overlook and hope it just gets better. But I want this episode to also make some more connections on where we're maybe missing the mark, especially when it comes to hormonal balance and involving our gut into that conversation, because I had lots of great feedback and questions around hormones when it comes to your gut. So we are today going to talk about the connection between your gut, your hormones, and then also bringing in some of the lack of weight loss or seeing weight gain when it comes to taking care of your health. Because if you're dealing with a weight gain that won't budge no matter what you try, if you suspect you have hormonal imbalances like hot flashes, heavy periods, PMS, mood swings, if you're also dealing with constipation or digestive issues, this episode is going to connect some of those dots for you. Because one thing that I see all of the time online, like on Instagram, or clients that come in and we have conversations, or just people in my inbox, is that we wonder if we need hormone replacement therapy because that seems like that should be the thing that fixes us. Or you think if you have weight gain, that the next option is to track your calories, increase your cardio, micromanage your food in order to lose weight. And I want you to know that these are not separate issues. Your constipation, your hormones, your weight, these are all the same issue that have actually the same solution, which is the best news because that's the path of least resistance. And that's what our brain and our body love to do, because sometimes our human mind wants to complicate things, but we can actually find a more comprehensive holistic solution, which you get like a win-win with this, because all of this is connected. Your hormones, your gut, and weight gain or lack of weight loss. It actually all happens in your gut. So today I'm going to talk about how exactly constipation causes estrogen to recirculate in your body, how backed up toxins actually slow down your metabolism. Also bringing in a little bit of your gut and thyroid connection, because many of you that struggle with constipation also have maybe a thyroid issues, like known thyroid issues, but also maybe wondering, is your thyroid an issue? I'm going to talk a little bit about fiber, how sometimes that actually makes things feel worse, and how you can balance your gut, your hormones, and support weight loss without even needing to micromanage all of them. Well, before we dive in, I also want to let you know that I have a complete gut healing program through the end of February that you can join, where it includes your GI map testing, a 12-week protocol, follow-up visits with me, and everything that you need to fully heal that gut. That is available through the end of February. So if during this episode you get lost in the information, just know that you can go back to the show notes and click to purchase that complete gut package before the end of the month. If you have questions on it, you can head to Instagram and shoot me a message. I'm at Melissa_Ike. You can also email me, melissa@mindfullywell.com, and I'm happy to talk to you. We can also set up a call if you feel like you want to talk a little bit more about that. But this episode is going to be a little bit more heavy on the information. I'm going to have some storytelling to bring it all together for you, because I do feel like the world is very heavy right now. And sometimes adding information in can feel overwhelming, and sometimes it can feel like a relief because it gives our mind something to hold on to. So wherever you are, I just wanted to make sure that you heard that there is a special offer this month and to give you the chance to make sure and get in on that. Okay, so first of all, I want to start the episode by telling you a little bit about my client, Tracy. Her story is probably going to sound familiar to you. It's one that I always come back to that really brings in a little bit of many of my clients. She came to me about a year ago and she was feeling very frustrated. She had been seeing someone for hormone replacement therapy, and specifically she had a testosterone pellet placed. And after that, she was actually feeling worse off than she did when she started. And that also felt very, very confusing to her because she wasn't actually getting answers from the provider that had placed this pellet on why do you feel worse. And also, once you have the pellet placed, the pellet is there. We can't take it out. We have to just go with the flow until that pellet is completely absorbed. Also, just know that I'm never against HRT. I think HRT is a beautiful thing to bring in. I personally use HRT, and even while I'm speaking about this, I have a pellet placed right now. So I am not somebody who's going to ever say that this is not something you should do. But this episode is going to help you see a clear path on how to make HRT work for you if your body actually needs HRT. But we can't just throw hormones into a fire and expect them to put it out. It's actually going to ignite that fire and put it in and make it burn even bigger. So anyway, she was not sleeping at night. She was bloated all the time. She was gaining weight, and she felt like she couldn't eat any foods without reacting to them. She had done some food sensitivity testing, and she got back a huge list of foods that she shouldn't eat. And that was her primary reason for coming to me. She's like, I just can't eat these foods. Can I really not have milk? Can I not have this? Can I not have this? Because every time I eat, I just feel terrible. And so on top of that, she was also dealing with chronic constipation, and she also had some reflux. So when we started working together, the first thing I did was I ran a GI map test on her because she had lots of symptoms of gut issues. And what we found was eye-opening and also a very clear picture on why she was feeling bad in the first place. But then she felt even worse once she added in HRT. She had a significant growth of bacteria in her small intestine. So this would be like something like SIBO, SIBO. And she wasn't breaking down her foods properly. She was actually hardly breaking them down at all. Her digestive enzymes were very low, and that is something that we can see on that test. And this explained why she felt like she was reacting to all of these foods. It wasn't because she was actually sensitive to any of these foods. It was because the food was sitting in her stomach for way too long, fermenting, creating gas, creating bloating, and triggering her immune system. And we also ran a Dutch test, which is a dried urine test for comprehensive hormones, so that I could see what is the clear hormone picture here. And also, how is your body metabolizing and detoxing hormones? Because if we're not detoxing hormones, then adding hormones in is just going to make you feel worse. And what we saw was that her detoxification was very slow and very sluggish. And this is mostly because of her gut health. So let's just think about the digestive system right in the center of your belly. Your liver is just off to the side, and they are connected. They talk to each other. And when the gut isn't doing its job because it's like not feeling good, right? It talks to your liver, and your liver is like, okay, I'll pick up some of the slack here. And then your liver starts to pick up some of the slack that your gut's not doing. And then your liver starts to get inundated with work as well. And then your liver starts to be like, I can't keep carrying the load of both of us. Are you going to ever pick up your slack, right? We've all had that coworker where we just keep taking on their work, and pretty soon we're dead tired. And this happens inside of your body as well. So even though your liver is like the primary organ for hormone detoxification, it also happens in your gut too. And so when the liver starts to take on some of the work that the gut is supposed to be doing, your liver is going to prioritize the work that it's doing. And so it's going to detox the toxins that are actually going to kill you. And hormones in the moment really aren't going to kill you, right? If they aren't detoxed properly. So those get put on the back burner. They're not prioritized. So here she was adding hormones on top of a body that couldn't detox them properly. That's like pouring more water in a bathtub that's already overflowing because the drain is clogged. But once we started healing her gut, we cleared out the bacterial overgrowth, supported digestion. We reduced inflammation by changing the types of food she was eating, by also increasing recovery from her workouts, by also working on her nervous system, because remember, stress in the body equals inflammation, and inflammation equals stress, right? One equals the other. Nervous system regulation and stress perception are hand in hand, right? One is of the other. We started getting her bowel movements moving regularly, and then everything started to shift. She got her energy back, her bloating went away, she started sleeping better at night, and her mood was much better as well. Because if we think about that luteal phase of the cycle, so the part of the cycle that is right before your period starts and right after ovulation, that is when hormones are the highest. And that is when estrogen dominance will be the most apparent. And also, that's when we have a lot of the PMS mood type of symptoms, right? Estrogen is very high, then we're going to have mood changes. So once we worked on healing her gut, she actually decided not to go back and have another pellet placed. She didn't really need it anymore. Her body found its own balance once her gut was healthy, and she was able to break down her foods, digest her foods, and she didn't have the overgrowth of bacteria anymore. And then also the weight piece, when Tracy and I first started during her consultation, she had said to me, weight loss is not my priority, but if I lost 10 pounds, I wouldn't be upset. And I know that that's how many of you feel. It's like, yeah, I want to feel better. And also it would be really nice to lose this a little bit of extra weight so that I feel better in my clothes. And the thing is, like, we didn't do any weight loss coaching. We didn't count calories. We didn't track macros. We didn't micromanage her food. In the beginning, I do this with all clients. We do track some foods that we both know we're on the same page. I know as your coach what's going in. And then we build a process of coming off of tracking and we move into intuitive eating. But overall, our time together, not micromanaging the food. She lost over 2 pant sizes. I don't think she ever was somebody who weighed herself, so I don't have a actual weight to tell you that she lost, but her body fat definitely shifted. All because we healed her gut. We supported digestion. We stabilized her blood sugar through consistent nourishing meals. We worked on her nervous system regulation because stress and inflammation are very much so interconnected. And when we addressed all of this together as an entire body, her body naturally found homeostasis. We didn't have to micromanage anything. Her body just returned to its natural weight. And that's what happens when you address the root cause. Our body is connected. All of it talks to each other. We are not just one separate organ system from the other. And our body, if it's always communicating to other parts of our body, and our gut is ground zero, it is talking to all areas of your body. And when we can heal ground zero holistically, you change entirely. So let's talk about why this happens, because especially in midlife and around perimenopause and beyond, the trifecta of constipation, hormonal imbalances, and weight gain, why does this happen at this point in our life? And before we get far into constipation, let's talk about what it is, because sometimes I feel like people don't really understand what constipation is. They think like if I go more than 3 days, then I'm constipated, but it happens a lot sooner than that. If we're going 3 days or more, we are way past the point of constipation. So I consider constipation of not having a regular bowel movement every day, any sort of irregular bowel pattern. So you go 1 day and then skip 2 days and then go again. Stools that are hard to pass or feel incomplete, like you just didn't feel like you completely emptied, or being dependent on stool softeners, Miralax, magnesium, anything of the sort to be able to have a bowel movement. You should be able to have a bowel movement each day without having to take something to get you to have a bowel movement. So if that sounds like you are constipated, my friend, and that constipation is directly affecting your hormones. And if you want to lose weight, also affecting that. Now, here's what most women do when they're constipated. You think I just must not be eating enough fiber, or I just need to drink more water, or maybe I need to exercise more. And hey, it could be some of those things if we're being honest. But if you have gut dysbiosis, so the imbalance of bacteria in your gut, so having more bad bacteria and an imbalance of good bacteria, oftentimes adding more fiber can make things worse because fiber feeds bacteria. So if you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria, you're kind of feeding that problem. And that's why some women, when you eat more fiber, you get more bloated, you get more constipated and uncomfortable, and then you start eating less fiber. And we do need fiber. I mean, your body thrives, and there's so many great things about fiber, which we can do a whole nother episode on fiber as well. We don't want to stop eating fiber because we have an overgrowth of bacteria, right? We want to get rid of the bacteria so we can eat fiber because it's really good for our body. So know that if you see that connection, I increase fiber, I feel worse, it's because we have a bacteria problem. It's not because you have a fiber problem. So let's get into the science of how all of this works. I'm going to keep this as simple as I can, digestible, no pun intended. Your gut is responsible for metabolizing and eliminating estrogen. Also your liver, like I said before, but your gut is as well. This happens through something we call the estrobolome. that is a fancy word for a collection of gut bacteria that decide when your estrogen leaves your body or it gets reabsorbed. Estrobolome is a super fun word to say, and I kind of feel like it sounds like I might be ordering something in a fancy restaurant, or maybe it's a wine, but it's not. It's where the collection of gut bacteria in your gut lie that decide where estrogen is going and when. So here's how it works. Your liver processes estrogen and packages it up to be eliminated. It sends it down to your gut to be excreted in your stool. But if your gut bacteria is imbalanced, certain bacteria produce an enzyme that unpackages that estrogen and sends it back to your bloodstream. So now instead of eliminating old used estrogen, you're reabsorbing it. Okay, so let's say that again, because I just said a lot that may have went right over your head, and I totally get it if it did. So your liver takes estrogen, it packages it up in a nice little package with a bow, and it sends it down to your gut to be excreted in the stool. But if your gut bacteria is imbalanced, an enzyme comes in, takes that bow off of the package, disrupts it all over, and sends it back into your bloodstream, where now it's reabsorbed and brought back to the top of the hormone funnel. And now you're reabsorbing that dirty estrogen. It's already been used. We really would like that to be gone in a way. So, but now it's being flowed back into your bloodstream and reabsorbed. And it's combined with toxins. And now it's recirculating in your body along with fresh new estrogen. So we've got like a double whammy of estrogen going on here. That's what estrogen dominance is. And this is what is causing heavy, painful periods, PMS, breast tenderness, weight gain, especially around your hips and your thighs, mood swings, brain fog. And also, if you're constipated, this is going to get even worse. Because if you're not having a full daily bowel movement, that estrogen that did make it through the gut, that did get through to your stool, that should be eliminated, is actually now sitting in your colon longer. And it's sitting right along the intestinal wall, which also reabsorbs and puts it back into the bloodstream. So constipation directly causes estrogen recirculation. And estrogen dominance makes it harder to lose weight, worsens your period, and throws your entire hormonal system out of balance. Okay, so that was the estrogen, constipation, gut dysbiosis picture. I hope that made sense. We want to make sure we have a healthy gut in order to make sure that estrogen gets moved through and that we are not reabsorbing it. So let's talk about how constipation affects your thyroid. This is another piece that also connects into your gut because your thyroid, you know this, your thyroid controls your metabolism. And when your thyroid is sluggish, your metabolism starts to slow down. Makes sense, right? Your thyroid is your little energy barometer. And when your metabolism slows down, energy goes down, you gain weight, you feel tired, you feel cold, your digestion slows down, everything gets sluggish. And constipation is one of the most common symptoms of low thyroid function, but it also goes both ways. Constipation can also affect your thyroid. When you're backed up, when toxins and hormones aren't being eliminated properly, your body has to work harder to detoxify and your liver gets overwhelmed and your thyroid function suffers as well. Additionally, inside of the gut bacteria, there's an inactive hormone in there that moves your T4 into T3. So that's just taking a thyroid hormone, T4, and moving it into a usable form of thyroid, which is your T3. That happens inside of your gut. So if your gut's a mess, your thyroid conversion also is not optimal. So you could have a normal thyroid level on paper, but still feel terrible and still feel like you have hypothyroid because your gut isn't doing your job. So if you're somebody who's had your thyroid tested several times and you're like, I swear to God, something has to be not right here. And it all comes back okay, because many times they're just checking a TSH or a T4. and not necessarily a T3 where we can see that that conversion is actually happening. It could just be a gut issue. We heal the gut and now your thyroid starts functioning well. And also then you start having regular bowel movements and it's not impacting your thyroid function. So let's also talk about the toxin picture here too, because gut isn't just eliminating hormones, it's eliminating everything your body doesn't need. Environmental toxins, metabolic waste, byproducts of digestion, all this stuff we're exposed to day in and day out that our liver just does a fantastic job getting rid of. And we don't ever have to worry about it or think about it because we have this beautiful organ that works. And when you're constipated, all of this sits inside of your colon, and some of it is going to get absorbed, just like the estrogen that I talked about earlier. And then your liver has to process it again. And your body is working overtime to clear waste that it should have already left. All of this creates inflammation. Inflammation slows your metabolism, makes it harder to lose weight. You feel sluggish, you feel tired. So even if you're doing all the right things, eating healthy, exercise, trying to manage your stress, but you're still not feeling great in your body, holding on to extra weight, feeling very tired and sluggish, the constipation, the gut microbiome, all of this could be the missing piece. And this just brings up a conversation I had with somebody else last week about how her gut wasn't as super loud, as in, I have a lot of constipation, or I have frequent bowel movements, or I have reflux, those common ones that I typically name. And she's also on HRT and not feeling better. And she did tell me, because I wanted to then ask her about how's your detoxification. Specifically, one of the questions I ask is, how are you sleeping at night? And many times when I ask that question, it'll say, I feel okay, but I wake up and I have night sweats. I'm sweating a ton at night. That tells me that your liver is working extra hard at night while you are sleeping, and it's trying to get rid of toxins that your gut and your liver aren't able to get rid of. So your body is super smart. It's going to find a way to get rid of the toxins it needs to get rid of. So if you're waking up at night and you're drenched in sweat, then that tells me that there is a backlog of toxins here your body is trying to get rid of, and it does it at night when you're sleeping. Such a beautiful thing that happens, by the way. Like, if you think about the body, like, that is just one of the things that blows my mind, that it's like, I'm going to go to sleep and my body just takes care of everything that needs to be taken care of while I sleep. It takes care of the toxins. It takes care of resetting my brain. It takes care of emotional metabolism that I haven't done myself during the day. It just does so much. It's so amazing when you go to bed at night. That's also, I mean, that's not the topic of the episode, but that's why sleep is so important. And also, I have lived all of this firsthand. I know what all of this feels like. You know, like I said on last week's episode, I ran my own GI map test several years ago, discovered that my own estrogen detoxification was very poor. I had a ton of symptoms of estrogen dominance, even though my estrogen levels on paper, like if you looked at my GI map test, my estrogen was very low. If you would have done a blood draw, my estrogen was very low, but I wasn't detoxing my estrogen. So I had symptoms of estrogen dominance. But it wasn't estrogen that was very usable or very friendly to my body, because I should have been detoxing this estrogen. And I was gaining weight. I had heavy, awful periods. Like I said before, the night sweats were awful. My PMS was terrible. I remember in the luteal phase of my cycle, like, I didn't even want to be by myself. I was so annoyed at everything. Like, you know, my poor husband and family, I'm sure I was a bear. And even I remember being annoyed at myself because I was so irritable before my cycle would start. And that's because that's when estrogen, progesterone is the highest. And if you have estrogen dominance, it's going to be loudest during that phase. And also, I have struggled with constipation most of my life. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I had struggled with constipation for several years at that point. And so, you know, I was always having to use magnesium or something to help me go. But once I started healing my gut, detoxing estrogen beautifully, then it's crazy to see how quickly everything shifted after that. Within just a couple of menstrual cycles, I was back to feeling my normal self. My cycles were regular, my bleeding was lighter, my PMS was almost non-existent. Now, I will always say you should know when you're in your luteal phase of your cycle, because there are signs and we want to know our bodies. We want to know what these signs are. I will always vouch for knowing that you are in your PMS, because you will feel a little bit less tolerant to, we'll just say, bullshit in your life. That's okay. And I just felt like myself again. And at that point, I didn't add progesterone. I didn't go on HRT. I just healed my gut and my hormones followed. I didn't decide to go on my own HRT journey until probably less than a year ago because my own testosterone was just staying very low for several years and it was not getting better on its own. And so at that point, knowing that I had all of my ducks in a row, my gut was good. My hormone detoxification was great. I did my nervous system work. My nutrition is on point. And then I can add in HRT. And actually, HRT does its job beautifully now. Okay, so if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, all of this makes sense. I'm constipated or I have any other sort of gut symptom, bloating, gas, reflux, diarrhea, and I have hormone symptoms. I'd also like to lose weight and or not. What do I do? Here's what I want you to take from the episode. You do not need to micromanage your hormones and absolutely everything around you. You don't need to meticulously count calories, obsess over macros, log every bite of food in an app. You don't need to increase your steps. You don't need to do a bunch of cardio. You need to heal your gut. And the way you do that is by first testing. See what is actually going on. What's overgrown? What's missing? How leaky is your gut? How well are you detoxing hormones? When you can test, guess what? You don't have to guess and you get a very clear, methodical path to feeling better. Second, create a custom protocol based on your specific results, not generic gut cleanses, not adding another probiotic, not adding another gut supplement. You want to have a healing protocol based on your specific results. Again, a very clear path to healing and feeling better. Supporting your digestion, the right nutrients, anti-inflammatory types of foods, targeted supplementation based on what your test is actually showing you. Nourishing your food with anti-inflammatory foods, blood sugar stability, two very important things that will help digestion, help your gut heal, and also help with hormonal balance. All of those things go hand in hand. And then regulating your nervous system because stress and gut health are deeply connected. Remember from last week's episode, your gut and your brain are directly connected with the same nerve. If your gut is on fire, it's sending messages to your brain, things aren't good here. Your brain is going to perceive a lot more stress in your day, even when your day is normal, normal day-to-day things, normal day-to-day functions. And all of a sudden, all of this, it feels very heavy and unmanageable. It's not because you have lost your edge or your ability to cope. It sometimes is because the internal stress is so high that any sort of external stress feels like it's magnified times 100. So when you do all of these things together, testing, specific protocols, support your digestion, nourish that body and that nervous system, when you do that, your body heals. Your bowels become regular, your hormones balance. And if you want your weight to shift, it simply will. And you feel at home in your body again. So here's what I want to offer you after this episode is that if you're ready to stop guessing and you want to start healing, I have the complete gut healing program through the end of February. You get the GI map testing, an at-home stool test with prepaid shipping, all the instructions. It's super easy and simple to do. I know it sounds like I really don't want to do that. And no, nobody wants to do that, but it does work and it does get you answers that will certainly help you feel better. So it's like a 2-minute situation with yourself that gets you a whole lot of time feeling better in your body. You're going to get a PDF of your lab results, absolutely yours to keep. Personalized interpretation from me. I sit down, I record an entire video going over your specific test and what it means and what we will be doing from that test. From there, you'll get a 12-week custom healing protocol. 12 weeks because that's typically what I've done hundreds of these and almost all of them end up to be about 12 weeks long. So you'll have a complete 12-week healing protocol because that's typically how long it will take to get through the overgrowth of bacteria, rebuilding your gut lining and rebuilding your own microbiome and reducing inflammation. And then through those 12 weeks, you're going to have 3 follow-up visits with me so we can track your progress, address anything that needs to be addressed or adjusted, and make sure you're moving in the right direction. Remember, this isn't just a test. It's not just a make and guess protocol. It's customized support from start to finish. And by the end of the 12 weeks, you're going to have significant decrease in bloating. Your bowels will be regular, few to zero food sensitivities. Also with food sensitivities, what is a true food sensitivity will be apparent during this healing protocol. So we'll have also clear answers on that. Clear skin, easier, less painful periods, mental clarity, more energy, and very likely you just simply lose weight without dieting, counting calories, without obsessing over food. Because when your gut is healthy, your body naturally finds balance. The total investment for this program is $8.99. I also offer payment plans, and you can use your HSA or Flex account to pay for this. And you may have already had some sort of testing before. You may have tried gut protocols and they didn't work. And here's what I'll say. If you have been to a provider, a gastrointestinal doctor, and all they gave you was Miralax or more Prilosec, you have never actually addressed the root cause. And that's what this program will do for you. Because if we don't test and we just throw supplements at something, we're guessing, and guessing typically doesn't heal unless you're very lucky. And this program is going to be different because we're testing first. We're creating a protocol that's specific for you, not your neighbor, not me, not all the ones that I've seen in the past and I just guess off of, which I would never do. But I'm not just assuming that this is what's happening. We know exactly what's happening because we get the real language from what your gut, from your stool. So if you're ready, here's how you can start. You can go to the show notes. The link is right in there. You can also go to my Instagram profile at Melissa_Ike. You can click the link in my bio. You can also DM me right on Instagram, the word gut, and I'll send you all of the details. This offer is available through the end of February. So if you've been waiting for something to feel better, for clear answers, this is the absolute perfect time. Because your gut is ground zero. And it's also where hormonal balance starts. It's also where weight loss starts. It's where healing starts. You don't have to keep suffering. You don't have to hope it'll get better. We can just finally find the solution for you so you can simply feel at home in your body. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will see you next week.